right.
Mark Kirby, thank you very much for being with us today.
Great to be with you.
Let's just start with a quick overview of your operations within the region. Just give us a rundown of your current scale of operations.
Yes, so we are 30 plus hotels now, and we've grown from sort of the downtown area to further afield in terms of, Emaar with our Villa Emaar property that opened up last year just after COVID. Took across to Fujairah with our Address Fujairah hotel that's been really well received here in the market. And then further down towards the Creek Harbour with our Creek development. And that's really exciting because you've got that Villa Creek Harbour that's done so well because of that sort of iconic landscape that you look back onto, and also having that homegrown Villa brand there that we're actually having a couple more hotels on the Creek Harbour Island. So the brand has grown. So we're very excited that we've been able to expand into other Emirates and now sort of regionally as well. So a lot of things happening in the group.
Right. Here we're at ATM. It's the first full-fledged event of its kind in the last 2 years. What are some of the big announcements coming from Emaar this year?
Yeah, this show has been always very valuable in the region, number one. I think number two, last year was sort of a test for us all to understand what the ATM could provide in a pandemic era, and it was great. When you remember last year, it was 11,000 people at any one time in the halls, and we were all very, very careful, and we had everything in place. So I think that was great. I think this year is just phenomenal because everything is really back, and we're able to really showcase everything that we've been up to over the last years. But at the end of the day, your business hasn't stopped. We've been working hard. And in Emaar Hospitality, over sort of the pandemic era, we opened up a number of hotels. Number one, we really looked at what the future of hospitality, and we worked on a number of things throughout that time. So we didn't go to sleep. There's a lot of things to do. So the show gave us the ability to now be able to showcase a lot of the things we've been working on.
Right. You've outlined some of the growth that you're planning on, but what are the challenges that you're currently facing that could possibly add to the speed bumps in your growth plan? So let's talk about, for example, the rise in aviation fuel prices, or inflationary pressures, or the Ukrainian crisis, which they have ripple effects nonetheless on the hospitality industry within your region. What are some of those challenges?
Well, I think from this region particularly, we're very fortunate because we're seeing a very buoyant market overall. If you look at 2021's numbers versus 19 for our group, like the Emaar Hospitality Group, we saw growth both in occupancy and average rate. So what's happened in the region and how we really managed to come back to business is supporting businesses locally for sure. 2022 is showing a progression on 2021. The first quarter we did occupancies of 75% plus March was 92%. So top line is great because the business is there and we're able to manage that. Now, some of the bumps in the road, we are seeing slightly increases in pricing for sure in terms of the raw products. I mean, that's something that we're having to manage and be careful on, because obviously we want to make sure the returns, particularly to our owners, are maintained overall. So we're just being very careful in terms of really watching each of our expense lines to make sure that we manage effectively and carefully. So we really look at where we buy our produce from and really negotiate, because now that we're a slightly bigger company, we can negotiate a little bit more on economies of scale at the same time as just really making sure that we continue to offer a really value for money offering to our guests, because that's so important. High levels of service, but value for the money offering. So we really have to make sure that we look at what we're providing in order to make sure that value for money stays.
Saudi Arabia, that's a very, very interesting market. Literally everyone's been looking at it, and especially for what it's doing now and what it's going to be doing over the next 10 years. That's probably one of the biggest markets, not only in the region but beyond as well. What are Emaar's plans for Saudi, and is it going to tie into all the giga projects that are currently under construction?
We're continuously having conversations on Saudi Arabia, which is great because there's a lot of interest in our brands. Why there's a lot of interest in Saudi in our brands? Because we're a homegrown company. Our brands are homegrown. the GCC loves our brands. They stay in our brands when they're in Dubai. So, our KSA market overall as a percentage of business is around anything between 15 and 21% overall. So a lot of people know our brands, which is great. So when people approach us and want to invest into the brands and look at them, when it comes to our Saudi expansion, that becomes very very progressive. In terms of our expansion into Saudi, we're opening up the Address Jebel Omar Hotel at early 2023, next year, Q1. So it's really almost there, which I'm getting very excited about. It's a 1,480 key hotel with all the premium services of an Address and a praying platform on the viewing bridge that looks over the Grand Mosque. So it's just purely behind the Grand Mosque. So we're very happy to be able to showcase the brand in Mecca. Then you've probably seen some announcement recently with regards to Daraya Gate.
Yes.
So we're very excited to assign those hotel management agreements in Daraya Gate with both the Address and then the relationship that we have with Giorgio Armani in terms of collaboration in terms of hotels. So that will be our third Armani hotel in our group, and it's something that just showcases the requirement for our brands being homegrown, but also on a premium edge. The brands that are actually surfacing and are entering into Saudi for us are our Address and our Armani products.
Are there new offerings from within Emaar that are now being offered, or new verticals altogether as a result of the pandemic that are in the pipeline?
Yeah, it's. I think this question is being asked a lot of this show, which is good because it means that we're all focusing, pretty much in similar things. Wellness, 100%. We're getting so much interest in wellness. We're working on wellness. We've recruited a head of wellness for hospitality overall to really re-look at what we're doing as a group. We're seeing that with our resorts, the successes of Address Beach, for example, in Jumeirah, Vina and Moqaim, Address Fujairah, we're seeing the interest in our resorts come because people want retreats, nature, sea, and an ability to be able to relax. But then incorporating now into those resorts and into our urban properties, looking at that whole spa offering. And we're not talking about traditional spa, we're talking about the whole holistic spa wellness, whether it be food, whether it be diet, whether it be well-being, mindfulness. So there's a real good focus around that wellness angle, which is coming very fast now in a number of brands and a lot of people talking about it. The second part is about sustainability, and sustainability is really on the forefront of everyone's minds. I think the world resetting during COVID gave everyone a focus on doing the right thing.
Yeah.
We've always been very focused on that sustainability journey in the past, but like a lot of companies during COVID, it almost stopped because a lot of things were wrapped and sealed, and we had to protect and look after each other. Now we're pushing very quickly on that journey and making the learnings from COVID. So we're not just focused on the sort of conservation in terms of water, electricity. We're focused on everything from all the plastic that we have in the hotel. We collaborate with the DTCM on the new campaign for the Dubai can, the no plastic bottles. So we're piloting that in a couple of hotels. We work with the UAE Food Bank, Sheikh Mohammed's initiative to look at all food waste in terms of overproduction of food that comes from our banquets, so that we can give that to people that require it. So all of our hotels are signed up for that. We work with local SMEs as much as we can in terms of local products that can be utilised. So for example, we work with a company called Palmade, and Palmade is disposable cutlery made from palm trees. So it's really, really incredible. So the sustainability journey is a big thing, something that everyone's focusing on alongside wellness. So these are two key trends that are coming out of COVID.
Business travel sentiment, I just want to quickly run that across you. So we have the rise of leisure. It's something that we weren't talking about as recently as 3 years ago. But then you also have the rise of digital nomads. And they're going to be coming to Emaar properties, and they probably want to stay there for 3 months or 6 months, or even a slightly longer stay, maybe not entirely home, but a slightly longer stay. Have you seen that sort of rise in demand among your properties?
Absolutely. I think throughout COVID we learned that a lot in a number of our properties. Don't forget that we are not predominantly hotels. We are mixed-use developments, from hotel, residences, service apartments. So we have, whilst we closed a lot of hotels, we had all of our residents, owners and tenants staying in our residences. So we were still looking after those. And then we found, interestingly enough, that a lot of people wanted to be here in Dubai because of the very forward thinking that the UAE government had worked on in terms of really making sure that we opened up smartly and sensibly and got back to business as soon as we could safely. So a number of our hotels, Vida for example, did really well throughout the pandemic, and it's continuing now in terms of people taking slightly longer stays in our hotels, in our facilities, whether it be hotel pools that are back into the hotel overall, to allow the people to stay longer. So yeah, we're seeing people enjoying the facilities for much longer, and hotels like Vida Emirates Hills, throughout the pandemic we had something like 60% of our business was long stay. It was like people staying 1, 2, 3 months and extending. That changed slightly now because people have got back to normality in as much way as they can, but because people started to enjoy living in hotels or the slightly extensive accommodation facilities, that has continued. A little bit like staycation has. We'll never go away from staycations now. Imagine how much staycations really grew in the UAE, and how we learnt about the UAE in terms of the other Emirates.
Mark, what would be the smartest way to grow the portfolio? Is it by building ground up, or by acquiring existing properties and refurbishing them?
At the moment, we are building ground up in terms of growing the brand. We are, as a hospitality company, we're growing organically, number one. So we're not a hotel company that is looking at building or growing into 40 hotels this year or another 50 hotels next year. We're looking at very progressive in terms of 4 or 5 hotels every year. We're focused on an asset-light strategy, so we're looking at investors coming in and working with us in terms of our brands on hotel management agreements. That's what we tend to focus on overall, and they tend to be new builds because you'll see the success of our hotels so far. A lot of people are wanting to build hotels and they're wanting key brands from the region to those. So that's our focus at the minute. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't do in the future in terms of their options.
Right, and coming to the end, if you mind, maybe just another question or two more for you. I just want to quickly come back to the hotel loyalty programs, right? Now that's interesting. That's also a way for hospitality groups to give back to their customers in many ways, and it's in a way to generate revenue back to them. How many members are currently signed up to the Emaar's program, and are there any innovations that you'll be bringing into the hotel loyalty program model?
Yeah, so we have a loyalty program. It's called Emaar. We have over 1 million members. Over 1 million members in that program. The program has been extremely successful because it has the ability to be able to be utilised across all of our Emaar platforms, whether it be malls, entertainment, hotels, restaurants. So it's probably one of the richest loyalty programs in terms of what it gives back.
Right.
We've recently re-looked at the loyalty program, and we've gone out with additional benefits and revised the whole offering. So it's a really great program that allows you to really, earn and burn more or less. So when you're in the hotel, you can, as your earning points, you can use them exactly at the same time. So I think that we'll see an increase in the use of this loyalty program, and we're seeing that a number of people, once they become a member of Emaar, they tend to come and stay back in all of our hotels to be able to use that program effectively.
Right. My final question to you, looking beyond the next 12 months, let's say the 18 to 24 month period and 36, so up to your 3-year, what is the benchmark for success that you've set out for the team to achieve within the next, let's say, 3 years?
Yeah, we're moving forward. It's really to make sure we have very strong presence. We've got strong presence in the UAE in terms of Dubai anyway, you see that.
Sure.
But making sure that all the, in terms of the other Emirates, we've got a number of hotels opening up in those. So really making sure that we have covered key iconic destinations within the UAE, and then expanding further into the GCC is really the focus for the next 2 to 3 years. We've got a very solid portfolio of hotels that are coming up in the region, from Bahrain to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as we talked about, into the North Coast in Egypt. So these are our really key focuses to grow the brand, to look at our wellness offerings, and to make sure we do it very sustainable.
And have room occupancy rates across the properties in the region reached to almost pre-pandemic levels?
Yeah, in the UAE, we've actually seen numbers come back to, if you remember 2019 overall, we've seen numbers exceed those numbers
Exceed
now.
2019
Yeah, so in the group, we've done really well, and I think that's the value of our brand and how people really resonate with the brand here in the region.
Mark, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Nice to be with you.
You too.